Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Scouser's Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser. It's Monday. Grumpy is here as always. Grumpier than normal, grumpier than usual. Last week he had like a little smirk. This week he's all pissed off. But we'll talk all about it. As always, we're brought to you by Reckless Coffee Roasters. I know we missed the deadline if you were looking to get it as a Christmas gift. But you can do the scam what everybody else does. Just blame the vendor afterwards. Buy the Christmas gift, send it. They're like, oh, it didn't get there yet. Oh, their shipping is so slow. And you still get the coffee gift. Okay. As always, Monday morning, Mitush is in the house. The Polish prince. What's happening?
Not much. I'm here. What a weekend, huh? What a weekend.
What a weekend is right. Even the 49ers could barely save yesterday for me. And we have a newcomer joining us for the first time is Lauren from Florida. Lauren, what's
Hello,
up?
hello. Not much. How are we doing?
We could do a lot better.
Yeah, we could. I think everyone's a little just kind of disappointed and just kind of like blah on this Monday morning.
It's the best word. Blah.
This is
honestly.
why I freaking told you guys all week last week. All this talk about is it gonna be 4? Is it gonna be 5? It's like shut the hell up. Let's win the game first, and then we can go afterwards. Expecting late effect here today. Ooh, I think Ryan is in Indiana. Yes, Northern Indiana's lake effect is brutal. I didn't even know how that would happen, but I used to work in Dalton. You know where Dalton is, Matush.
It's a couple hours away.
Yeah, miles away. It's a couple 1 or 2 hours away. But everything in Chicago is 1 to 2 hours away from Matush. Yeah, I mean it's what maybe half an hour from like Northern Indiana. I don't know how the hell that happens, but Northern Indiana would have like 8 inches of snow, and we would have like 1. That lake effect is no joke. Okay, and yeah. The sad news is Lauren is going to find out shortly that this was the wrong morning to hop on.
Yeah.
So, but hey, this is how this goes. So
I was hoping it was going to be a better one, but here we are.
No, there's no saving this Monday show, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
So, Mitush, you did the dreaded DVR action, right? Because you were working.
Yeah.
Which I used to do back in the day. And it's almost like a worse feeling somehow. I remember, like, because now you're miserable by yourself afterwards, whereas there's people to bounce off of it, like when you're watching it live. But what did you think of the game?
And then you lose 2 extra hours for no reason. I told Michelle because she always checks the score because then she knows what mood I'm going to be in. And I told her next time I have to do this and it ends up 0-0, please just tell me ahead of time. I don't care if we lose 1-0 or if we win 1-0. If it's a 1-1, if it's a 0-0 draw, just let me know so I don't have to watch the entire thing. I'll just watch the highlights, and so be it. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we play that game 8 out of 10 times. I think we score 3 or 4 goals each game. We weren't clinical enough. Kanate puts that shot anywhere else besides Stradonana. That's a goal. Trent's shot was just barely wide. It's a great shot. Obviously, I mean, Gomez was close to scoring as well. That would have been quite poetic. But all in all, I mean, United did what they had to do. I think we talked about it last week, Tim. It's just with them not having Bruno, it almost made things better. Like we would rather have Bruno out there because when he gets so frustrated, he can't do the captain thing. And they had a bunch of guys who really just wanted to eke out this result, and they did exactly what they needed to do. And honestly, like respect for their game, and it is what it is. But unfortunately, yeah, you would have loved to see a different result for sure.
Yeah, that whole reverse psychology with the wifey thing is a mess by itself because I would do that, and Angie's the same way. I mean, I would come really late at night to watch the game, but still, like from the phone conversations or you see her, like, is she faking it, like on, like trying to make it look like it was bad, or yeah, it's like taking a penalty kick where you don't know, like, is she thinking what I'm thinking and then doing the other thing kind of deal. But yeah, it's hell. Lauren, what did you think of the game?
I was nervous going into it. I never expected to go into it going, we're going to go 4, 5, 6, 7-0 again. We had a Christmas party the other day, and I just kept saying, I think we're lucky if we can get maybe 2 goals out of this one. I expected them to score 1, even possibly first, just because that's how things have been going for us this year. But as the game kept going on and it kept going on, you thought, oh God, they may actually nick 1 away, and they may actually take 3 points away from us. And, it just ultimately just disappointing because you expected Mo to do better. He was kind of nowhere to be on the field. Szoboszlai has been very, I think, overworked with playing with Hungary and everything. So he's been quiet in the last four or five games. I know he scored, midweek in Europa, but the Premier League has just been, the scale has just unfortunately been getting slower and slower on his end. So it was just ultimately just disappointing. You think you could, as you said, be more clinical. You've got so many people up front. I just don't understand why he didn't start maybe even Harvey Elliott. I think that was a bit of a conundrum. I know he's almost becoming like the new super sub, but I think with him having the heart and the badge, he's always going to fight for the team no matter where he's playing, if he's on the bench or not. And I think him not starting was a big miss on our end. And then I think, as you were saying, Man U came and they parked the bus essentially. They knew they couldn't do anything. They knew the front isn't, Højlund can't score yet.
Yeah.
So you knew that was going to probably happen. So, and McTominay wearing the armband for the captaincy was probably the right decision, unfortunately, for Ten Hag, because he's the one that actually cares about the club that I can see from any of those players on that team. So it just worked in their favor, and we couldn't play our game.
Yeah, it was. Ryan says, Smushin will hate this. Why would I hate this? But Trent and Endo may have been our best. Why would I hate this?
Because you hate them so
Endo
much.
was fabulous.
I hate them so much. Endo actually I thought did really well. The problem
he
is
did what
that
he needed to do.
Does not work. With like we've tried it before. That midfield just does not work as a trio. I feel. Szoboszlai was horrific. Yes, it was just like, dude, what the hell? And like the thing with that midfield, and I don't know, like what you think, Matush, but like those two guys, Gravenberg and Szoboszlai, yeah, it's great. They're great players, and attacking wise, they can do a lot. But if they're not clicking, we don't have that teamwork up there in midfield where you can't keep like sustained pressure. So it's all or nothing. So we take a shot, either he's going to score that shot or we waste another 45 seconds, let them kill some time. The game slows down. We just can't build up on the pressure we have. And it feels like there is a lot less interplay because they want the ball as well. And this is what everybody was like, we need to create some midfield. So boring, this midfield and stuff like that. But they got the ball to the people that we wanted to get the ball to by moving the ball around and creating space. Now you have two guys in midfield. Aside from Endo distributing the ball, they don't really distribute as much. They want the ball on their feet. They want to do something with the ball. So now you have five guys who want to do something with the ball, but nobody to distribute it.
And two of those guys are usually sitting offside as well. So yeah, it's weird, isn't it? I do think, hey, it's a rebuilding year, right? Back to that again. I do think that there needs to be a little bit more time for them to gel together. Obviously, you would hope that by this point that there would be a little bit more chemistry, but I genuinely think that there just needs to be more time together. I don't remember having Fabinho, Wijnaldum, and Henderson click that quickly, that easily, that soon when Fabinho came in. But again, to your point, their roles were completely different. I think this while the formation looks similar in some ways, the roles of the center mids are so different than what they were before, or at least the left and right mids, right? So I do think we're going to need some growing pains here in terms of you saying it with them gelling together. Part of it is going to be understanding how do you attack without being too attacking, and how are you able to use the space that you have without going into other people's spaces as well? Because I think the problem, especially, I know we're talking about Szoboszlai and Gravenberg, but having Diaz and Nunez making the same runs into each other kind of cuts off some of that space for Gravenberg and Szoboszlai. So Szoboszlai, I hate it because I love him. He's beautiful, and I wish.
What a god!
And I wish.
The chin, people, the chin. We'll cover this.
No, don't worry about it. You can
chin
get
has
past
not
the
been
chin.
tested and approved by the wife, so no
it's
go.
fine. But yeah, it's frustrating to see the last, I don't know, 6 weeks now. It's just been rough, but I do think we need just a little bit more time, chemistry-wise, and we'll get there. I don't know if it'll be this year. But I will say I'd rather chase for the title than to be chased. You know what I mean?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yes, I know. I mean, I guess. I mean, here's the thing. I think maybe. Well, let me ask you that, Lauren. Is it feels a tad better because we're chasing Arsenal, knowing they're more likely to slip than, for example, chasing City, where we know they can go on this ridiculous run. So whatever we do, we might never catch up.
Yeah, I just think we're always keeping that one eye, even though that they're 4 points behind us right now. We're always Arsenal. They did exactly what we did, the year that we thought we were going to win, 8 to 12 points in front of City. They thought, no problem. And I kept saying last year, just watch. Eventually something's going to happen. City will do what they did. And sure enough, they did. So I think it's always one eye on City. We'll always be paying attention to Arsenal just because, or whoever's on top of the table, just because they're top of the table. But I still think there is dominance with City, even though they're having their couple of weeks of having drawings and a couple of losses. But unfortunately, and I hate Pep, but he does end up squeaking it out right at the end. And but we need to learn to do that as well, because before we could go on these runs and no problem, and then we start faltering a little bit, and then we lose self-confidence, and they just keep gaining self-confidence. Like, I don't even think them being 4 points is a problem for them. I don't even think they're worried about it. They're just going to play their game and continue doing what they need to do. And it's just us always talking about them, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think maybe because they're, we talk about
Repeats.
like mentality monsters and stuff like that. For us, in terms of them, they've they've been behind before and caught up and won and stuff. So I guess it's a lot harder for them to press the panic button because they know they can do it, which is not a good confidence to give them. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it's weird because this feels like a loss, which it wasn't a loss, but it definitely feels like a loss. Is that because did we overestimate ourselves a little bit, Matush, in terms of what we can do? Because bear in mind, we've been getting 3 points. I mean, we're top of the league, but let's face it, like it was a lot of squeaking in results and getting 3 points, like a lot of heart attack moments. So do we kind of overestimate maybe how good we are? I mean, Klopp was talking about how last year's performance was actually worse than this year's performance, even though we won 7-0, just a matter of being more critical. Do you agree to that, for example, first of all?
No, I don't. I mean, it's hard to agree with that because I feel like I watched the highlights from last year's game. It was like 2 days ago, right? Just kind of to get in a good mood for the weekend.
Just like
Because every once in a while you just throw it on and go, oh, this is just great. And it was just it wasn't the full game, obviously. It was just the extended highlights. So you're not able to watch the whole match. But thinking back to it, it just felt like the game was so much smoother. I know it took 41, 42 minutes to score a goal. And 6 were scored in the second half. It was just ridiculous. But it seemed that overall the team played a lot better in that game than they did yesterday. I don't know. It's hard to agree with that because it's almost as if everyone on the pitch seemed so frustrated. And I didn't get that sense last year where they weren't frustrated. They were just playing their game. And yes, it's easier to not be frustrated when you're scoring every chance you get. But also I don't know. It's hard to answer. I don't agree that it was a better game played. I think United played a better game. That's pretty much it. And we just couldn't finish. I don't know if it wouldn't still be 7-0 if we could have finished yesterday the way that we did last year. Right. It's still only been 3 or 4. So
yeah, I think it's like there's probably a frustration out there because now they're more expected to score and win. Yeah. Whereas when we went to that 7-0 game last year, we were like kind of like how United was going, like not much to lose. Let's just put a good performance kind of thing. But let's face, I mean, I think maybe Lauren is talking about the fact that we were like a lot more dominant this game. Like first half, when you go back and watch the highlights, for example, Matush, I'm sure you saw like there's one that Bruno misses, there's another one that Rashford misses. So they were actually coming at us and attacking, whereas this time we kind of like dominated the game a lot more. But last year's game, everything we touched turned into gold. Obviously not this year.
Well, yeah, I mean, it almost was a different story though last year because if Bruno Fernandes had gotten that header in, that would have been 1-0, yes. And that was like in the 20th or 25th minute, so that was still early on in the game. So with him missing that, and then eventually we controlled the game, then yeah, we got the 7-0. But I mean, it was at points they almost could have gotten a 2-0 game maybe before halftime. So I think at that point we were a little lucky. But I think the only reason why Jurgen's saying that it was a better performance, I just think it's just because of the stats wise, other than the shots on goal and actually scoring. But like 34 shots in the possession, which I think is, you got to do something with that possession though.
Yeah.
I think that's the possession's not going to win you that game.
And that's the thing, like we kind of like huffed and puffed is the best I can describe it. We were talking with my brother, and it was he wasn't able to watch the game, but he's looking at the stats, and it's like, I mean, you can kind of tell from the stats that like how bad it was and stuff. Oh, here we go. Saido's in the house, and let's talk about this. I mean, the Nunez thing. Let's talk about this Nunez.
Captain Chaos.
I don't care about his misses and stuff like that. But what kills me is we were dominant, but Nunez was in the middle, says Ryan. He can't stay on the side, and Gakpo does better with the stack. Yes, I thought. So here's the thing. Let's go with the starting decision. When we were talking in front of the game, before the game in the pre-match, I almost got the sense that, you figured this was Ten Hag's only chance, right? Like he had to get a result to keep the job for the first of all, because if it's a 4-0, 5-0, he's gone. Even if it's a 2-1 or something like that, he probably stays. Obviously now he stays. So I thought normally he would come out and say, got to keep the job, play D, basically exactly what they did. But I thought maybe he would be a man of his principles, and then we play how we play, the result be damned kind of a thing. He did not do that. Do you think Nunez started because we kind of expected Ten Hag to be like man of his principles, or is club really thinking Nunez is the best option against like a stacked defense?
I don't know, because I definitely would have preferred Gakpo. I think we've said this all year. Anytime that we play against a team that sits back, Nunez is not going to be the best option going forward. It's great if he can get in behind the defense, but it's difficult when the defense is sitting right at the 6-yard box and there's nowhere to get in behind for him to get in behind. I think the most frustrating thing, and I think you were alluding to this, is not the missed chances. It's just the mentality of being onside, of finishing the play, of kind of just not doing things for the sake of doing them. Sort of like you said a few weeks ago, his pressing, he's just doing it for the sake of doing it. There's no real purpose to his pressing. He kind of he does what he thinks he needs to do, but doesn't do what he's necessarily meant to do. And I think just staying onside would be such a huge benefit to the club in general. And I think that's the most frustrating thing, is that he just can't stay onside.
I mean, forget the onside thing. Honestly, the thing that really got me livid and lost it, and Kazi, who's not a huge fan of Nunez, was talking about, is the stupid yellow card he got a week after he got it the same way. Because that's the kind of like stupid immaturity that really gets to me. And then being off on top of it, this is why he's off. Keep your head in the goddamn game. I mean, he's a guy that if I'm on the other team, I'm saying just get him riled up.
Yeah, just go out.
It's so easy to get him riled up. Just get him going, and then he will basically get himself out of the game, Lauren. I mean, it's just like it's one thing to have an attitude and the passion and stuff like that, but if you can't control the passion, it's just shit.
Well, he's actually lucky he didn't get a second yellow yesterday after he got the first card. Essentially, what Dallo did yesterday. He could have had the same thing to happen, because he kept, this whole thing of you can't show the yellow card, you can't do it to the ref. He was doing that as he was getting the first yellow card, and I thought, stop, because that's all we need now is just that decision to go against us. And there we go down to 10 men. So, yeah, you sometimes wonder if he understands the concept of offside. If someone's actually talked to him and said, bro, this is what we need to do. You got to stay a little bit behind, and then once the ball's going, then you can go forward. But I just think the other issue is just the easy missed opportunities. It's like he overthinks them. He just skyrockets them when he's 4 yards out of the box. It's that I think is also worrisome too. And then he can hit all these worldies, and you're thinking, how does that even compute in a player? Like, how do you do that? So I think that he needs to settle down again. He settled down for a while, and then I think with these missed opportunities and stuff, he's going back to the habits of last year. And as you said, why not irritate Nunez anytime he's on the field? Because you're sure enough to get something out of him, and then potentially even more red cards. And I was a bit disappointed that we didn't start Cody yesterday. We started him last year against Man United. He played brilliantly against them. That was a bit odd as well. Instead of with Diaz and Nunez together, it seemed a bit not right.
Yeah, it's just because Nunez keeps. I thought maybe that was the strategy. Like Nunez would, like naturally, even when he's in Benfica, he always kind of like shifts to the left and makes his runs towards left. I thought, okay, maybe we're gonna overload and then isolate, like Mo on the other side and stuff. The problem with that one is the ball does not move fast enough to make that effective. Because even when you do the overload, that's what I mean. Like there are too many people on the pitch who want the ball on their feet without really moving the ball. I felt like was the problem. The jury was out with Darwin. I think they have returned with the verdict in the last 3 weeks with fans. I think. Look, I don't care about the misses and stuff. What gets to me, Matush, is the immaturity and the childish thing, because it tells me that his head is not in the game, and I think that's why he is skying those like easy chances and stuff like that. Keep your head in the freaking game, and he's such an easy target to get his head out. And I don't even know, and I'm sick of this. He's young, blah blah blah. Dude, none of these guys are that young. Where it's not like he's going out there for the first time and playing or something like that. He's been pro for what, 4 or 5 years probably. So it's not like he just went out there for the first time. So don't give me this young shit. There are a lot of young composed players out there. I'd rather have a young guy out there saying, I got to focus on my freaking game. I can't get into this drama, rather than doing what he does.
Yeah, if it's not the youth, then it's the language. Even though it's been a long time, and like you don't need to speak the same language to hit the target, right? I mean, it's football is a universal sport for a reason. You don't need to speak anything actually on the pitch if you don't need to. I think one of the frustrating things as well, and I think back to the game, is there was that one moment where he was just sitting on the edge of the box with the ball for it felt like a minute, holding onto the ball, not knowing what to do with it. I think those are the moments, the big, if you give him too much time to think, he becomes so indecisive and it really hurts. I think, obviously Kazi, we know in the Discord very well, his feelings. And we've talked about how if you don't give him the moment to think, like those 2 Newcastle goals, he just, look, you get the ball, you shoot, done. That's all you have to do. Goes in, no big deal. But if you give him too much time, he gets into his head too much. And like you're saying, once he gets himself out of the game, especially early, that yellow card was 20 minutes in, right? It was pretty early. Then for the rest of the game, you're scared that he's going to do something absolutely silly. And then also he's going to overcompensate for the mistake he made. Because I feel like he's one of those players that if he does something wrong, he's going to try and make up for it. But his making up for it hurts the team more than it helps, because he then tries to do too much on his own. And that was something that we were talking about last year, was that whenever he was playing, it felt like he wasn't really part of the system because he was trying to do so much on his own, to kind of overcompensate for the fact that he wasn't getting a lot of minutes. And I think now that he's getting a lot of minutes, and plus, or adding to the fact that now he's getting a lot of minutes and he's struggling, he's going back to those overcompensating ways where he's trying to do way too much and it's not fitting within the system. And to Lauren's point, and that's why someone like Gakpo would have been perfect yesterday for the link-up play, at least. And I would be curious to see, Gakpo and Jota when Jota gets back. And,
Whoa. Let's back the fuck up. Who? You threw a name in there. Who's the name you threw in there? Lauren, Matush is a big-time Jota hater.
I'm not a hater. Can we get off of that?
No, not Jota the slaughter.
No, I think I just think he gets too much praise overall.
Well, now you're finding out maybe it wasn't too much praise.
No, I'm a man that can accept that I'm wrong sometimes.
Yeah, Jota would have been. I think the thing that Jota would bring is more options off the bench attacking wise, and like I feel like if Jota is in there yesterday, man, he pops somewhere in the middle in the box and then scores a weird goal. I mean, it's just that kind of it was that kind of a game, and he's that kind of a player. I mean, at the same time, okay, and this is what I was thinking yesterday, Lauren, as you watched the game. Then Gakpo comes in. Yeah. And now he's almost got the sub syndrome where he's just doing way too much and just taking stupid shots from all over the place. If we know that Gakpo is better ultimately in interplay in the middle, and Nunez is better coming off the bench and causing chaos, Why the hell not do that and do what we're doing, banging our head to the wall?
I don't know. I mean, I guess that's why Jurgen gets paid the big bucks. I mean, he had a different idea, I suppose, than how the game plan he had in his mind was going to go, as opposed to the fans and everyone else around the world. Because I think everyone was kind of surprised. I mean, at least I was, that Cody didn't even get a start. I think he should have taken maybe even Diaz's place. Diaz can come back, sit on the bench and then come on later on with Elliott or something. I don't know why you're going to start. Maybe because of the speed, Nunez and the speed. He wanted to get behind the line. And I don't know. But obviously, Nunez's speed is too much of a problem because he can't get onside. So I don't know. That one I just don't understand, honestly.
Kazi says Luis Diaz, another one who needs to have a look at himself, been shocking for months. I don't think, well, maybe because Nunez is out there, Matush, but I didn't think he was that bad. Maybe the bar is set really high with Nunez's performance. At least he's not stalling attacks. And I feel like, if anything, with Diaz, he's trying a little too much sometimes and dives into things with the ball, trying to create from left-hand side. But at the end of the day, so let's look at this. Let's spin it to a little bit of positivity, semi-positivity. Will we say all this? If they get one in that first half, it's going to keep coming. I mean, ultimately, was it that the lineup was so wrong, or we were just nowhere near being clinical, and everything would have been fine if we just got one in?
Probably be a little bit of both. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know, because sometimes watching it on the feed can be a little deceiving. But outside of the first 10, 15 minutes of the first and second half, I feel like Anfield itself was quiet as well. And I wonder if maybe, and I don't want to, I'm not blaming the fans for this game, you guys. Before anyone starts to go off on me in the comments, I'm not blaming the fans, but I'm thinking maybe if there was a little more voice in that stadium, would they have been able to propel the team a little bit more? And maybe they threw us off by making us go towards the Kop end in the first half. I think obviously if you score towards the Kop end in the first half, in the first 10 minutes, I think they get 3-4 in the first half, game done, whatever, but yeah, I don't know if it's a little bit of a mixture of both, because there definitely was a chance to go ahead early and that would have opened the floodgates, so to speak. But I think, and we talked about it last week, whether it was us two or it was Gally and I don't remember, but we said if a goal comes in the first 15 minutes, that's going to be it. It'll be fine. But if we get to the first half and still 0-0, it's probably going to end 0-0, just because they were going to play that way and eke that draw out. And unfortunately, that was the case. So I think that result was what we have deserved after the past few weeks of our performances. Like, we have gotten points that we shouldn't have over the last few weeks, and I think we finally got what we deserved as far as a result. Because I think if we went away with that game scoring like the 94th minute, I think we would say that we were so lucky again to have 3 points, right? And we're talking about our mentality monsters again, but forgetting actually how bad like 85 minutes that we've been playing consistently over the last few weeks has been.
Yeah. So Kazi says Anfield was quiet, but the crowd needs a spark. One thing I would say about that in the crowd's defense is probably an unpopular opinion, but all these cracking shots from outside the box and a lot of the stuff that we did, you could never build a sustained pressure. That's when you really get crowd into the game. When we could get like a couple of corner kicks back to back, or you cross the ball, they can barely clear it. We get the ball, we come back again. That's when you kind of really get the crowd into the game and everybody gets riled up. Whereas you crack a shot, it trickles to Onana or it goes sky high. Well, now Onana's getting the ball. They're killing like another 30, 35 seconds. That sucks the air out of the stadium anytime that happens. Are we kind of like gotten a bit too cute with our play, Lauren, where there were so many times yesterday, and Trent's, that's why I don't know if I would say Trent had a really good game yesterday, because there was a lot of times where the old school Liverpool that we're used to would play the ball wide, which is what you want to do really against a team that's tight, to try to stretch them a bit. Instead, we were trying to thread this ball to the middle, cracking shots and stuff like that. And I don't know, one of Trent's shots was closed, But I mean, obviously, when we take like 20 shots, one of them has to be close. Are we kind of almost like getting too cute in trying to thread the ball into the middle as opposed to using the wings more like we always used to?
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people that actually enjoys taking long range shots because you never know what's going to happen. And I think for a while there was a point where we weren't ever taking long range shots, and we were just trying to be too cute, trying to play through the middle, trying to do the tiki taki kind of passing and everything. And so when we go for a long shot, I'm a fan for it. But I understand what you're saying yesterday when it was too many just trying to let's just hope something maybe gets deflected or Onana has a bad spill or something. And totally the momentum goes away from that. When you can't build on anything, you stop it. As you said, Onana's gonna take as long as he wants. And then you have to try to build the fans back up too. So and I think maybe the fans were a bit, as we were also maybe a little bit too cocky going into the game. It's at home, it's United, it's a Sunday. We've gotten managers sacked, the following day, so it's been, I think, too many just like, and of course we're all going to talk about it because it's great, happy days. But I think it also might have translated into the stadium as well. Just like, maybe we got this. We don't have much to worry about. We don't have to push him forward too much. And I think as well, and I don't know how you guys feel about it, but the rivalry doesn't seem to be as like cutthroat anymore. It doesn't seem to be as vicious anymore. I mean, I think that takes away in the newer age of things going on, where it's not as like aggressive from the start and start to finish anymore. You've got your moments in games where it can get a little bit spicy, but it's just throughout the whole game, you're not feeling that like aggressive or just, hatred towards United as much anymore. I'm finding. So I think that maybe kind of played a little into the crowd as well.
I think, yeah, and the crowd expecting another blowout is kind of like sucks the air out when nothing has happened after like 20, 25 minutes. Everybody's like, that's when, not rumblings, but in terms of like the disappointment and just like wait and see kind of a thing. Kaza says, I think the manager is still figuring out his best 11. Club should have realized by now, Szoboszlai and Gravenberch doesn't work together. You would think that, but you would be wrong.
They're the same kind of player. They like to hold on to the ball. They can't. If I think this is the game where we actually miss McAllister in, because you have McAllister.
Good. But you know what? If McAllister was there, he would probably play instead of Endo, who I thought had a good game.
I think he should do Endo, Szoboszlai, and McAllister.
Yes.
Because you're going to actually have your six, and your Endo's going to go and keep the ball, and then he's the one player that doesn't want the ball. He'll get it, he'll head it, and he'll get rid of the ball, and that's what you need. And as you guys are saying, too many people were holding on to the ball yesterday.
I think he did well yesterday, Endo. There are a couple of times he can turn with the ball, maybe, but he was just playing it safe and like dropping it back if he had to and stuff like that. But obviously, when you get caught on the ball a lot in the last few games, so you're kind of like afraid to turn around with it, even when he has space. There were a few moments where you're like, if he turns, he's like, wide open, and then we just eliminated 4 United players, but he kind of like plays it back to pace, which I'm okay with that. He's a defensive midfielder, just move the ball around, which he does. Like you said, he wants to distribute and switch wings and stuff like that. Oh, there you go. Nunes' lawyer is in the house. Anan says, Anan, who's a huge, way too big of a Nunes fan. Are we done pretending Nunes is the only one who had a bad game outside of Van Dijk? Trent, I still do not think Trent had a great game. I don't know.
I don't think Konate had a great game either.
And Konate, I don't think Konate had a great game either. Average. I don't think he had a bad game. In terms of who had a bad game, okay, so Matush, who had a bad game? Because I would put Szoboszlai as having a bad game and Nunes as having a bad game. The other ones, I feel like, were not necessarily bad, just average.
I think Mo had a bad game to the standards that we hold Mo up to.
Okay.
I think if that was any other right winger that you throw up there, you say average because of what he was able to do, but because of who he is and what we expect, I think he didn't have a great game. I know he's had a ton of goal contributions this year, but I genuinely don't think Mo has been as great as we keep saying he has been this year. There's something off this year, and I don't know what it is. I
know what it is, but keep going.
What is it?
You know what I'm going to say why it is.
I have a feeling.
Because this freaking Trent is playing this inside thing. Just put freaking Trent back out. God damn it. That's why. This is
Look at
why. Everybody is playing worse because of it, but let's freaking do it so that Trent is happy. And then you saw in the second half when you push Trent to midfield, if people are still saying Trent should be midfield, especially defensive midfield, go watch towards the end of the game how many times United, when it became like a basketball game for like a little bit, where it was really dangerous. Like Lauren was saying, you were like, holy shit, they might score out of this because this is exactly what United needs, like a counter or something like that. See how many times he actually tracks back and see how he tracks back as he jogs back while we're like 3-on-3 and stuff like that in the back. So
can I ask a question though on that?
Shoot.
How would you feel if Joe Gomez started on the right back then and kept Trent in the midfield?
I just don't want Trent in midfield. I'll deal with his defensive deficiencies. Put him out right back wide where he can, he did his thing. It's what made Trent. But now we're trying to do something else with Trent, screwing everybody else around him in the process. Nobody's getting more positive out of it. I know, like Kazi and a bunch of people were like, oh, look at our record and stuff like that. Look at the game. Yeah. I know the record. Look at the freaking game, and you can see this team is not as free flowing as it was because there is no width. And I feel like, and that's what kind of like started the rant. So I'll come back to you, Mateusz. But that's why I feel like you still put Mo so out wide where he can't cut in, whereas normally Trent should be there, would have been there. But Salah's out so wide. Every time Salah gets the ball, he's by the sideline, like holding the linesman's hand.
Yeah, and I mean, that's not where we want him to be. But also, I feel like at some point, I think this formation was being figured out by opponents, and we had to make a change somewhere. So I don't know if going back to how we used to play is necessarily the best recipe for success if that was being figured out by these clubs and being managed easier against us. I think so that there had to be a change. I don't know if moving Trent invertedly is that change that's specifically supposed to be there, but I wouldn't mind the experiment of Gomez at right back. I would just worry about our depth at that point, because then if you lose Gomez,
you're stuck with Konate.
You've got nothing back there, And so unless in the summer you're looking for a right back, I mean, that would be the evidence that we would need to see if Trent's seriously going to be moved into that 6, is if they're shopping for a right back and actually bring in a Premier League starting right back, then we would see that shift. But otherwise, I don't know, Tim. I feel like Klopp he's trying something different, because the way that they were playing for so many years was figured out, and now they have such different players that I don't know if it would work if you go back to what you were doing before.
See, I think though, even though it was figured out, let's say, and I don't think it was figured out, to be honest with you, when you're clicking, if the offense is doing what they do and they can execute, it's going to work. And I understand what you're saying, where teams adjusting to it a bit more, and they were trying to block, like Trent and Robertson from like doing those overlaps and stuff like that. But now in the middle of the pitch, instead of like the distributing blue collar midfield, you have some guys who can cause havoc. So you cannot go that wide and just worry about the ends. You have to worry about the middle as well. And I feel like that would be enough of a, tweak, if you will, to compensate for, people adjusting. Because now, okay, if you stretch the D and block, Trent's runs, block Robertson's runs, there's a much more space in the middle. Now, Szoboszlai and Gravenberch can go to town, or McAllister, who's in the middle. Whereas in the past, Hendo and Fab would not go to town, even if there was nobody in front of them. They're just going to distribute the ball. They were not those kinds of players. But I think that's like the biggest issue. Anand says, there you go, Polish Prince. There you go. See, you got a pat on the back because you talk shit about Mo, but everyone has ignored it because it's easier and gets more clicks to blame Darwin. I would say that if Darwin wasn't offside like half the game, because I don't know how many times Mo got caught off, except like one I remember when he was like going back and forth or whatever. But yeah, I would not even compare what Mo does on the pitch to what Darwin does on the pitch. This January, we should look for a tight back.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Definitely, it's right. It's right, guys.
Here, man.
I guess it's still football.
Either as a backup or a regular position. Yeah, but Ryan, how much snow is over there? Okay, so okay, right back. I don't know. Going back to what you were saying, Lauren, I thought Gomez has done really well every time he's come in. The only concern I have with like taking Gomez and putting him in a spot like that is he's the only backup we have right now to center back, right back, and left back at the same time.
Yeah, I know. But at least I feel like I can trust Joe more on the right side than on the center back. But then I don't know if I can trust Konate enough either, though. So then we don't have Matip anymore. So you're just like, gosh, what do you do now? You want to bring in Kwanzaa for to keep I think he's got a lot of talent and growth, and then you can see he wants to play with Virgil. But I think throwing him in is just wrong right now, especially in the position how tight everything is. Maybe if we weren't maybe so far up on the table, he might play with that idea a bit more. But yeah, I just what do you do? I don't know. I prefer Joe on the right side. I think he does far better. He's got great speed to go down on the right side, just like Trent did too. I just wish he could like score a goal. That's all he needs. That confidence for him. And he was so close yesterday. He just needs to curl that leg more. But yeah, that's just I don't know. I would like the experiment of putting Joe and keeping him to the right.
So let's get to this. Kaza says beat Arsenal and top Christmas so it doesn't all down.
We don't really like to be a top at Christmas though, do we?
No.
No.
We fall apart.
Tunch doesn't think anyone would come to Liverpool. Who said, man, this is like Assumption Monday. No, I mean, I guess my thing would be like what I've said in the past is I think it's going to be tricky to get somebody, I mean, on the left side, on Van Dijk's side. So it's going to be tricky to find someone that we would all be very comfortable with saying, all right, we get a center back. So get somebody, even if they're not going to play this year and they're going to come off the bench and stuff like that, somebody more about like long term, because I don't think anybody who plays on the left side, especially seeing Van Dijk's form, who by the way had another great game, nobody with a ton of talent is going to want to come and sit behind Van Dijk. They might see an opportunity at the right center back now with Matip out of the equation, and they only have to kind of beat out Konate, especially if we make Gomez more of like a right back then, because like in the past, nobody wants to come in and sit behind and stuff. Nobody who's very promising and other clubs wants to come in and sit on the bench. I guess maybe and I would like double up on that. But beating Arsenal but before we even get to that, we have a game against West Ham in midweek on Wednesday. So I guess my question to you guys, we'll start with you, Lauren. How much do you want to put into that game in terms of like lineup? Do we want to go all out? Because this is a trophy we can really win now. Anand says, don't worry, guys. Thiago comes back in January. Yeah, I mean,
he'll be our savior.
Yep. I'll believe it when I see it. We did see him in training, so.
Yeah, it goes from the past in the photos.
We got to bring Laura down on Fridays now. Okay, so you can tell this to Anand as well. Okay, so Wednesday, how much do you want to invest in this?
Sadly, I don't know if I want to invest as much as I probably would have said maybe 2 weeks ago, just because, again, the position of the table. I think he's going to, I don't want to say do the same thing he did with USG, but I think he's going to kind of do a bit of a lighter lineup and rest the big boys again to make sure that no one has any injuries going into the Arsenal game. I think he'll maybe start Cody just because he sat Cody for the game for Man U. I don't know if I would risk Mo going into it. I'd probably start Endo again. Or if anything, give him 60 minutes into it. But I don't know. I'm not as concerned about this cup, even though, yes, it's a chance for a trophy. And I said, at the beginning of the year that we'll probably get 2 trophies, one domestic and God willing, Europa as well. So obviously he wants to win it, but I think his eye is still going to be on Saturday. And he's just going to say, do I really want to invest everything into this?
Yeah, I'm kind of like mixed up in this too. Lauren says you're on the naughty list. So yes,
I am, apparently.
He warned you and then you jumped all over it. So Ryan says win a trophy when this close. Anand says we go for it. We go for it big. Matush, how big are you going for it?
Oh, big. Like I was trying to think of an analogy, and
Fight back. I don't know.
it's it's a couple hours away in my brain, so I'm not even gonna think about
In
it.
Chicago.
Yeah, it's somewhere down there. No, you go for it. You absolutely go for it. Arsenal can't beat us at home. I'm not worried about next weekend. I'm less less nervous about Arsenal next weekend than I was for this past weekend. And that's just, I don't know if that's me being silly or just understanding that the way Arsenal will play against us will suit us better than the way that United played against us. I think anytime there's a more open game, we're better off playing. Even if it turns into a 3-3 kind of goal fest, that's a game that fits our style much better than it fits the style that we had to play against yesterday against United. So I say you go for it for West Ham. I don't know. You maybe do a midfield of like a Jones, Elliott type of situation, and then bring back Sobo and Grab for Arsenal as much as we don't want to maybe hear that right now. But I don't know what else Klopp is going to do next weekend. I feel like he's stubborn sometimes in the way of who he wants to see in that midfield, and I don't think that's going to change. But we go for it. You try to get a trophy. We talked about this at the beginning of the year. While it was a rebuilding year, we had the depth, and we have the depth to compete in all four competitions. So why not compete at all four competitions? It's still super early in the league, only a point behind Arsenal. Like, it's even if you go all out against West Ham and then maybe draw against Arsenal, there's still so much time left in the league to make up that, especially with the reverse fixture at the Emirates. There's always that chance that it's going to come back to that game anyway. Whether you win, lose, or draw next weekend, it's going to come back to the game against the Emirates anyway in the reverse fixture. So go all out this midweek and go from there.
Yeah, I think I'm sold. See, I was kind of like in the middle, but the more I read the comments, and I know what Lauren is saying. I just feel it's not like you can throw this West Ham game and hope for the best, and it's a guarantee for the weekend. I don't even know if it is guaranteed. Sometimes, I mean, you see a guy like Soboslai who rested during the week for the most part, and then still looks brutal on the weekend. So I don't know. So much for the run-off games theory, by the way, Mateusz, because he had. So when a player doesn't perform, we're like, oh, he needs a run-off games. When he does not perform, he's like, oh, he's getting too many games. There's no like happy medium. He's like, he just should play every 6 days. But I think under normal conditions, if everybody was still in this, like, it's not like getting past this round. I mean, you can definitely like get past this round and be matched up against the championship side and something crazy like that. So I think based on who's left in the tournament, I would say go for it. And then, whatever happens on Saturday happens. You play who's able to play. Maybe actually you might be forced to play Jones or something like that in midfield and control the game a little bit against Arsenal. Does who's left in the tournament, Lauren, change your mind at all? Can we sway you our way in going all out, knowing there's nobody left?
One of us. Well,
we got to remember Ryan Gravenberch may not even be healthy.
Oh,
he
that's
has a
true.
hamstring injury now.
Oh, God damn it. Yeah. No, yeah.
So, our injuries are kind of starting to pile on as well, and I don't want to have more injuries, and that's just where I'm coming from on that end. Yes, I know it's a cup game, and it's obviously a chance to go further, but I would, if anything, I'd honestly prefer to play the FA Cup instead of the Carabao Cup right now, and then that maybe my tune changes, but I don't know. I just want to keep our boys healthy for as long as possible, and don't forget January pops in and we lose Mo for a month. We're going to lose Endo for a month as well. I mean, I want to try to get as many points possible on the board before we start losing people for international duties for the African Cup of Nations and the Asia Cup of Nations. That's just my worry for the future.
Damn it, Lauren does make a new case, and you just blew your chance to get on the nice list. But
back to you, Simicha.
I know.
Have you been swayed by that? That's a good point. I mean, but then again, we got to make it what? So we have West Ham, then obviously Arsenal, Burnley away, Newcastle home, and then the FA Cup third round. Then we get 2 weeks off, party time. Do we suck it up until then and run him into the ground if we need to, Mateusz, just to get through these run of games?
when has Klopp not run guys into the ground before anyway, right? For the 4 or 5 years prior, everyone was running to the ground. So what's the difference now? I think, and to Lauren's point, I think losing Mo and Endo for that month, yes, that's going to hurt a lot. So you want to get as many points as you can in the league. I don't think that whoever you play Wednesday is going to have an effect on the match on Saturday. They might be a little bit more tired, but I think we're at that stage of the season where you almost expect them to play 2 to 3 times every 7 to 10 days. And I think the guys expect it too. The players expect it. And I think if they're up for it, and this is coming from an amateur athlete at best, going back to my playing days, yes, you're sore as hell the next day, but within 3 days, like, all right, let's go. Like, ready for this. I think the recovery time, especially with dieting, with every resource that they have at that level, with the amount of money these clubs have, I think that the freshness from a Wednesday to Saturday is much different than it used to be. And I think it makes it a little bit easier. Obviously, I don't think we're going to see our strongest 11 midweek, but I do think, 9 out of 11 would be who we would see then again on Arsenal, against Arsenal on the weekend.
So if you are on the resting people side of things, Lauren, which you clearly are, who are you resting? Like, who are you the guys? Like, give me 3 guys that you're like, I don't want to see these guys out there.
I would probably even rest Allison. Why play him? I don't think there's a real need to have to play him. I think Keller can do his job.
Just shot him out there.
I mean, I don't know. That's just I just think there's not a need. I think Keller can hold his own.
Anan says, give me 300,000 pounds. I'll play 9 games a day.
Well, we can only be so good.
Okay, this way. You say you're resting Ali?
Probably Szoboszlai, because I just don't think he needs to be playing another game right now. I think, and
yes,
I agree with, like, everyone has a lot of money and we can recover, but I also think, and I hate to say it, but the mentality, like, I know we're mentality monsters, but like having to keep going again and and trying to and playing Man United for a game, and then now you're back to a cup game, and now you're back to an Arsenal game, and you're having to play this New Year's Day game. I think we don't take into mind about the psychology of having to play again. I know it's what they do and they get paid a lot of money, but like, I think sometimes these boys got to get a little mentally tired, especially around this time, just because it's so chaotic. And then I don't know, I'd probably sit Mo. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, Ellie won't play. Drop Darwin, Gakpo, Diaz, Elliott's up front, Salah on the bench.
I think Elliott definitely needs a run at games. I think it's sad he keeps getting benched. I get it, but I think he really needs to show his own as well. He had a great start to last year. Got that horrific injury, and then just hasn't been able to get back on that same playing level. And I think he needs a run of games.
And I think when he comes off the bench, he does well. The problem with poor Elliott is when he's starting, he's usually starting with a mixed match, like a starting 11 that always looks disconnected anyway. So obviously it affects his game. He has not started if he started yesterday, for example, it's totally different than starting midweek with like a bunch of different guys who are playing together for the first time, bunch of kids and stuff like that. So I guess the question becomes, the Ali thing scares me though, man, because even yesterday, Ali kind of keeps the game in balance, because I don't know if Keller is, for example, saving that against Hoyland's 1v1.
Well, no, but I'm not putting him in the Premier League games. I'm just saying I'm putting him for the cup games. I mean, we trust him in Europa, I mean, it's not, why not trust him for the other cup games? That's what I go to. We have a backup for a reason. He's probably one of the best backup goalies in the league.
But do you think we keep trusting Keller in Europa moving forward, or that was just like during the group stage where you were like, you can just go have fun, kind of an ordeal when we go to the next? You think Keller will keep playing the Europa game?
Why not?
That's interesting. Do you think he will keep playing Madrid? I feel like that was just like.
I think once you get to maybe after the round of 16, then you'll probably start putting Allison. But let him have a couple more games.
He just doesn't. I think. Confidence on me.
I think West Ham is stronger than any of the Europa League opponents that we had in our group. And I do think after this round of Europa, Allison's back in goal. So the only other time we might see Kelleher again might be in the FA Cup, potentially.
But see, that I have a but like if we're gonna try to have if he wants to get money in stock, we got to start playing the boy, because we're not gonna be able to hold on to him much longer, And I'd rather him start getting some play time as well.
Okay, speaking of playtime, Soboslai. Let's talk about that before we take off. Do we play in this game? Because I know I agree with Lauren in some ways, where after that performance, but then again, do you want him to get the run of games, Matush, and get him out there just to get the bad
Yes.
taste out of his mouth, have a semi-decent game? Because now, if you're putting him next against Arsenal, is he going in the same mindset as I saw? I mean, he knew when he came out. You could see on his face that he knew he had a horrible game, and I'm sure, like most players know, but you could tell.
Yeah. So he wants to make up for it. So you slot him right back in there, give him the run of games
against West Ham or against.
Do it. I don't care. Yeah.
Run him to the ground.
So easy going. That's what I like.
I mean, Hungary's going to run him to the ground too. So why not just, he'll retire by 29. It's fine. We get good 6 years out of him, and see you later, Dominic. Thanks for the time.
It's been
a free transfer now.
Bench his ass at least 2 games if we can. I don't think we can, based on, like I say, the number. I don't know how bad Gravenberch is, but that last run he had into the box kind of like did him at the end, I think, and he pulled it. But Sobo starts with no doubt a good bounce back. I agree to that, and I rarely agree with Anand. I feel like, like you put him in there, but the problem is you got to get Elliott up there. So unless you're putting Elliott up top, or like Kazi was saying, you got to make room for Elliott and Jones in that midfield. But yeah, I don't know who plays the 6. I don't know. You keep trotting Endo out there. You definitely need him for the Arsenal game. But let's get some early predictions on the way out. Early prediction for Wednesday game. Give me a scoreline, Matush.
Oh,
2-1. I didn't know you were gonna ask me.
2-1, and I'm not gonna say for who.
That was gonna be my scoreline too.
2-1.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are. So, are you gonna pick a side for the 2, or are you gonna play Matush?
Oh no, we'll pick Liverpool to win it.
Oh, okay. Are you gonna jump on board here, Matush? The sun is
melting. Oh god.
I think the aliens are there, so
oh no.
We'll let you go with the aliens.
Damn it.
They can run their test on the Polish prince and be in for a shock over there. I know
they didn't like my answer. Apparently, that's fine.
Anand says 2-1 Liverpool too. Too many people agreeing on this. Cameraman puts the camera on Thiago. Crowd goes wild. Our season takes off. Yeah, that's the only thing. Is going to be the problem is whenever we put the camera on Thiago, he's on the sideline next to the bench talking to the other injured players. But too many pierogies, says Ryden.
There's no such thing, right?
Have you made any of those cocktails?
Absolutely not.
We got to introduce Lauren to our menu. Lauren, you got to see our Turkish, Polish, or Polish Turkish, whichever way you want to do it. Restaurant.
It's the
nice.
Pole Turk.
It's the Pole Turk. Yes,
there's already a name for it.
Philip says 2-1. Okay, everybody's picking this 2-1 thing.
I no longer like the 2-1.
Everybody's piling on. I'll go with the Timuchin special on this one, but I do want Ali in gold because I feel like somewhere in there, there's going to be like a 1v1 save against like Bowen or something crazy like that to keep us in that game because I do worry about them on the counter a bit more. But yeah, let's get.
I worry more about headers.
Yeah, that's true, I guess. Ryan is going with Ryan is daying 1-0 with the tight back. Let's go with that. I don't know. 1-0 sounds painful too. Ryan is like typing like crazy this morning. Okay, so we'll go with those predictions. But yeah, let's keep going. Let's get a trophy. I agree with what Mateusz was saying too. There's time to make up those points, hopefully. But so that'll be it for us today. This morning, I should say, not today, because I'll be back tonight with the gang. Aliens are back. Yeah, we'll let the aliens grab Polish Prince. So next Monday, it'll just probably be just me and Lauren. But have a great day, everybody. Have a great week. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and all those things on the bottom there. Everything except the thumbs down you can press, I think, pretty much. And then we'll see you guys tonight, 7 o'clock Central. 8 o'clock Eastern. Gally and Bickler, I'm sure we'll talk a lot about this game as always. Lauren, thanks for joining our Shit Monday shit shows.
Thanks for having me.
And then, yeah, everybody had a great week. We'll see you guys later tonight. Take care.